In the newly released Epstein emails, this only further shows his level of Jewish supremacy and how much he truly believed his DNA specifically was superior to other races. He didn't feel that he was superior at the level of Europeans, but he actually viewed himself separate than European ancestry and even went as far as mocking Europeans, believing that he, as an Ashkenazi Jew, which is how he identified himself, was superior.
So I'm going to tell you about some interesting stuff they found in the Epstein 50th birthday book. Let's go. There's a science section that includes a report from a man named Mark Nowak who worked for the Epstein Institute in Harvard. The creator, and I'm going to tag her in my caption, suggested that they knew that our DNA corresponds to points in space-time, and we can use this information in order to manifest our future.
Genes help manifestation. This sounds crazy as hell the first time heard. Let's be clear now that this genetic topic is studied by a psychopath who had a network of the most intelligent people on Earth, and those intellectuals engaged with this. Now people are waking up, and things that have been seen as hocus pocus turn out to be real each passing day. The question is not if there is a superior gene. No. The question is if there is a more spiritual gene, which could be a good thing if God is the one being worshipped, but could and did go south real fast if a false god, like Baal, is worshipped. The sole power of this gene is not manifestation, but this ability to manifest is caused by the ability to contact otherworldly beings.
So, you're Maria?
Everybody's born with a spiritual gene. That turned on gene will turn into a complete revelation of the perfection of you, your soul, and the creation, and one will develop.
A member of his team had gathered reports of military personnel who either had remote viewing abilities.
That's it, yes.
Or had been injured or had an encounter with a UAP, aka a UFO. It turned out that almost all the people in Will's studies, military and intelligence officials with remote viewing abilities and/or UAP encounters and biological effects, had Native American DNA, specifically Cherokee blood. And we have discussed this a lot over the years. There seems to be this pattern of bloodlines associated with these encounters. I tried to get into the mystery of this. I tried to dig out its roots and find out what was going on. I made it somewhat crazy, but there is controversy about how Cherokee and Ashkenazi Jewish DNA is related, and it has similar haplogroups. She says, look, I'm going to massacre the info, but they share DNA somehow. It's wild, so I started to investigate it.
There was a clear correlation between genetics and otherworldly encounter statistics in America. This spirituality-sensitive gene of Cherokees had controversial ties with Ashkenazim. Thus, this Y-DNA R1b of Epstein had this as well. And of course, these encounters go way back into the biblical times, beyond being a modern phenomenon.
Northern Israel. According to Bible texts, it was here, in the 9th century BC, that the prophet Elijah reportedly had several encounters with both angels and God.
Elijah's experience details a spinning object or a spinning beam that took him up into the object. We see a whirlwind that came over him and a chariot of fire. So the question is, was it the chariot of fire that was spinning, or was it a beam that came down and took him up?
For the faithful, this extraordinary event is believed to be a religious miracle. But could Elijah have been chosen by heavenly beings to fulfill an otherworldly purpose, as ancient astronaut theorists contend?
Despite all this evidence, there is this false notion that ancient Israelites were genetically so different than Ashkenazim. Simply put, because they think Ashkenazim look more European than Middle Eastern. But how true is it that ancient Israelites look like modern Middle Easterns? See, this verse of biblical Lamentations, her, meaning Jerusalem's Nazarites, were purer than snow and whiter than milk. We know this is not a reference to the clothing or else, because Bible clearly do mention dresses when it is the case.
There are remarkable stories forgotten by history, like the story of Hesse Levinson's Taft. When she was just 6 months old, a picture of her is chosen to appear on the cover of a Nazi propaganda magazine as the perfect Aryan baby. But she's Jewish. I'm at the Museum of Jewish Heritage, a living memorial to the Holocaust, to get the story of how it all happened from Hesse herself. This is you.
Yes,
And you're Jewish.
yes.
So how is it that you wound up on the cover of a Nazi propaganda magazine?
That's a very interesting story. First of all, I should say that my parents were not Germans.
So for those of you who don't know, R1 is a genetic lineage. It's a patrilineal genetic lineage. It's called a haplogroup in genetic terminology. So it's a lineage that is passed on from father to son. It's a specific genetic mutation. R1A is the world's most successful extended family. It's the most successful genetic lineage that is known to humankind. So in essence, the people who originally carried this lineage are the original Aryan invaders.
This Aryan gene is the one that exists both in Europeans and Ashkenazim. However, Ashkenazim would argue they have a more original, more Middle Eastern branch of this same gene group. This DNA titled R originates in the land where the most of world religions have started. Peter Underhill from Stanford University places the origins for another branch of this R group, R1A, in Middle East, just north of Sumeria.
First, the Sumerians came from the north. They were a white people who had lived in the mountains. They had been accustomed to worship their gods on the tops of hills. After they had entered the plain, they constructed artificial little hills on top of which they built their altars.
And we know that the Sumerians were thought to come from north in early Sumeriology.
So these blue-eyed figures are really fascinating, and we're trying to get to the bottom of why they exist and where they came from. And the main stash of these figures was found at an ancient city called Eshnunna from 2700 BC, and this was an ancient Sumerian city in what is now Iraq.
The ancestor of which Ashkenazim traced their lineage to is a very famous name in the Bible, Abraham. In the Old Testament, Abraham clearly emerges from the city called Ur-Kasdim, or Ur of the Chaldeans, which was in, drumroll, Sumeria, of course.
The Bible says that he and his family worshipped Mesopotamian idols until one day something shocking happened. The God of Noah spoke and told Abraham something very strange. Get out of your homeland, because not only am I going to give you new land and make a great nation out of you, but the entire world is going to be blessed because of you. We're going to see exactly what God meant by this strange promise in just a moment. But first, you gotta see what Abraham does next. By faith, he took his family and just left. He most likely would have taken this common trade route where he could make stops along the way until his family arrived.
Abraham was the starter of the biggest world religions, Judaism, Christianity, and of course, Islam. Most of the spirituality we know today come from this gene pool. Science fiction could interpret this gene as a mutation that caused the humans to be extra sensitive to quantum entities or other dimensional beings, as in string theory. I myself am part of the R1A by report, and Abraham is a figure I see resembling myself in terms of reshaping the world around us. Of course, this gene spread unfathomable lengths. This is merely the start of the story. Anyway, I'm Saint Bora. Peace out.